What's up, guys? Welcome back to the second iteration of what engineering school is all about. I'm making this video series to help those guys and girls that are in high school or maybe non-traditional students and are wondering what engineering school may be all about, what each class is all about, and just trying to give people that foreknowledge. I am encouraging individuals to go into engineering, but I also want them to understand the difficulty and the skill level that you will need to possess before embarking on this daunting challenge, right? If you haven't seen my first video, go back and watch my first video, which talks about year one of engineering, where we talk about all the different maths and sciences that you're going to need to give you that good foundation to start your year two and subsequent years. Now, as far as this year goes, this was the most grinding year, I would say. It was the most hardcore, like old school way of just like doing equations and math over and over and over and over again, because a lot of this stuff it just comes down to repetition and being disciplined and doing the schoolwork over and over and over and over again, right? It wasn't the hardest, and people may disagree with me about that, because a lot of this, like I said, I just told you that there's a lot of repetition, a lot of doing it over and over again, right? But I don't think it was the hardest per se. It was definitely more challenging than the first year, but the most challenging year was definitely yet to come. And when I make my third video, I'll tell you all about that, right? So like I said, make sure for this year of engineering that you make discipline and repetition your main objective, because that is really, year one, set up a good base of just like trying to get into the rhythm of doing engineering and doing math and sciences. And now year two, you're starting to kind of like mix, damn, I just bumped that thing, to mix both of those together, right? So now you're starting to put together a little bit of math, a little bit of science at the same time, whereas in year one, they were, for the most part, they were pretty separated, or if they were together, like you didn't yet realize that because you hadn't reached the higher levels of math and sciences, right? So let's get into it, right? So one little disclaimer I want to make that I made in the first video is that this is all of my own opinions, and my opinions are also under the assumption that I'm going to this specific school, right? So different schools are going to have different things, and also different people's and experiences may vary, right? So year two, we start off with Calc 3, right? And Calc 3 is also known as like multivariable calculus or vector calculus, right? It's where you start really visualizing higher order equations like cardioids and hyperbolic functions and spherical coordinates and functions. Here, I believe, is the first time I ever heard of like polar coordinates, which I can talk about that in another video, because that is a whole topic and discussion on it by itself, right? Also in here, you're going to learn about dot product and cross product, which is like super influential for fluid dynamics, and also just basic motion. Those things are super important. Here you're also going to start dibbling and dabbling in partial derivatives, multi-integrals. I mean, Calc 3 it's not the highest calculus you can take, but once you get to Calc 3, they kind of, every higher level of math kind of diverges into like a certain specialization, right? So when you get to Calc 3, you're really trying to encompass most of the basics. They want to just like show it to you so that it's somewhere stored deep down in your brain, and then a year later or a couple semesters later, you really find out, oh, it's like this was the purpose of them teaching me X, Y, or Z, right? Okay, so moving on, then we get into Physics 2, right? Which is the second level, obviously, denoting by the name, duh. Here in electromagnetism, you learn about things called like the Lorentz force, you learn about Faraday's law, you learn about Kirchhoff's law, which are super, super important when you get to like we call it E-Systems here. Other schools, it could be called like Circuits 1 or 2, right? So now that Physics 2 is over, we have now started to move more into our engineering courses. Our pre-engineering courses are complete, and we have a foundation to stand on. So now you should be really happy that you finally get to take what's considered like an engineering course, right? And to kick it off, a very challenging and very time-intensive and discipline-intensive course by the name of statics. Now, in statics, you're going to learn a lot about resultant forces, some of the forces, trusses, friction, tension, moments of inertia, anything that doesn't move, right? So like when a structure is completely still, we want to find out what the forces are, what the internal forces are, and how that interacts with our physical world, right? This course is like super important for mechanical engineers and civil engineers. The teacher I had for this course, he was really hard, and I'm actually very thankful that he was very hard on the students, because this course, he teaches another course that we'll get to in the next semester, but in this, when he taught this course, it really gave you a good glimpse onto the kind of attitude and the kind of intensity that you need to get yourself used to for all these engineering courses. Because if you learn to have the kind of intensity and discipline and the sense of urgency with this course, then you will translate that to the rest of the courses that you take, right? Unfortunately, the reality of engineering school is like not everybody's gonna get straight A's. If you do get straight A's, then good on you. Maybe you got it more. Maybe you know, just are a brainiac. But when it comes to engineering school and a lot of other schools, there's some classes that you know you're not going to do as well on, right? So you just got to make sure that you get disciplined in these classes so that when you get to those easy classes, boom, you get those easy A's. In the final class for this semester, I took engineering economics, right? And in this class, we learned about just your basic economics, right? And how it relates to engineering, as if you were a project manager or a project lead or something like that. Here you're going to learn about interest and cash flow, which is, I mean, it's not only important in engineering, but that's important for your long-term investments and retirement, right? Different topic. I can make another video about that. Also in here, you're going to learn about trade-offs. In my first video, I made an allusion to that being one of the most important things about engineering, right? Trade-offs are a natural part of life, and they're also a cornerstone of engineering. So in life, you can only have three things. You can either have it quick, cheap, or with a high amount of quality, right? So with those three things in mind, there's got to be trade-offs, right? If I want something done cheap, might not be the safest, right? And it also will be probably pretty quickly completed, right? So, or if I want something done really expensive, like if I want the best, you know, the most expensive thing, it's going to have high quality, but it's not going to be done quickly, right? So, but I mean, these are different things that you'll experience in life, but also in engineering, and that's why this course was really like influential to learn about just how life kind of works, right? And how to gauge your expectations about things. Another really interesting thing you learn about this class is about how taxes work and how depreciation works and inflation works. Another super important life lesson. I mean, this course was obviously required with my degree plan to be a mechanical engineer. However, you learned a lot of good things about just how the world kind of works, or at least how this country works, and taxes, and how inflation goes. What I love about this engineering degree is that I'm learning engineering, but I'm also learning how to like literally like engineer my life. So it's kind of like Inception, right? It's like engineering within engineering almost. I'm engineering an engineer, kind of. So great course, right? Really hard to stay awake. It was really early in the morning. I don't mind getting up in the morning. I mean, it's not necessarily my favorite thing to do, but I don't mind getting up early in the morning. I slam a bang, drink a coffee, bust out a few push-ups, whatever. All right, moving on. So we come into our spring year, right? And we start off with what I like to call Calc 4 or Diffie-Q, right? Differential equations is absolutely one of the most important math classes you are going to take. I mean, yes, Calc 1, got to know the foundation, right? But I mean, as far as higher math goes, differential equations, oh my God. Like, you will use this in fluids, you'll use this in propulsion, you'll use this in E-systems, you'll use this in heat transfer. I mean, you'll use Diffie-Q across the board. And I didn't even know it when I first took it. So it's kind of funny thing I seen online a couple weeks ago is that if Thanos understood differential equations, he would understand that him killing half the population would not actually achieve the goal that he originally set out to achieve, right? So the fact that population growth is on an exponential level, if he knew simple differential equations, when he snaps his fingers and wipes out half of the universe's population, he would know that they would get back up to a higher level, if not higher, in a quicker amount of time, just with a simple differential equation. So anyways, funny little thing. Super good class, super important. So I cannot stress that enough, right? Next class, we have your basic thermodynamics for college and for engineering. Good course. Definitely pay attention. There is, especially as a mechanical engineer, this is a huge cornerstone of your further classes, of your upperclassmen classes, right? Some of the topics you will learn in thermo are the Carnot cycle, ideal gas laws, control volume analysis, and closed systems analysis. Like, all these things are just setting you up for the next courses. So it's really important that you learn them now, right? And if you don't know your 3 laws of thermodynamics, you should know them before you show up in this class, because your teacher is very liable to ask these on any and every exam. Every engineer in general, but especially mechanical engineers, civil engineers, industrial engineers, these guys and girls should know their 3 laws of thermodynamics. And you learn them in this course, but I mean, it's not that hard to go learn them before, right? Even if it's just memorization, even if you don't know what they really mean, your teacher is very liable to ask you those on your test. And that'd be easy points if you could just recite it, right? Last thing about thermodynamics. You'll thank me later for this. Isentropic means that there's no heat transfer and the cycle is reversible. Don't worry, you'll thank me later for that. Okay, moving on. Mechanics of solids, right? This course, very important. Here is an extremely important course for civil engineers. So much to the fact that they have a second level of this course. Mechanical's only got to take 1 level of it, but still, this course is super important because here's where you learn about deflection, you learn about internal stresses and strains, you learn about Mohr circle, being able to analyze certain points along a beam or a circular shaft. I mean, you think about it. I mean, you need to know these things in case you design a system in which certain stresses are being applied, whether it be torsion or torque, and learning, pure bending, right? So for our final course this semester, we have dynamics. Now, dynamics is some monster to get over. You will be pulling your hair out. You will be discouraged, but let me tell you, just keep doing the homework. Just keep doing the problem. Get practice on it. Work in teams. Work with people that are smarter than you. Work with people that are dumber than you. Because if you can, and this is a general theme for all engineering classes, if you can explain it to somebody, you then truly understand it, right? If I can do a problem in dynamics or statics or thermo or something like that, and I'm able to do each line of the solution or of the problem, and I'm able to thoroughly explain each of these steps or these lines of the equation, I do truly understand it. And then it builds also your confidence in understanding it when you get a problem that you have no idea what it looks like, and you look at it like, okay, let me think about the steps, let me think about what I need to do, right? Let me lean on my discipline and my practice, right? In dynamics, you're going to learn about rectilinear motion, you're going to learn about curvilinear motion, polar motion, which is also called like periodic motion, sine waves, cosine waves, those kind of things. You're going to learn about your basic energy and impulse, momentum principles. Unfortunately, your soul will be stolen, so just be prepared for that. But like I said, just keep practicing, keep doing it. Explain it to the wall, explain it to your boyfriend, girlfriend, explain it to your kids, explain it to your parents, whatever. If you can explain the problem, then you truly do understand it. In addition to you obviously like practicing the problems over and over, right? Just a full disclaimer, I did take this course twice, which means I know it twice as better than anybody else. No, that's not what that means. That means that I sucked the first time and I had to go through the pain and struggle again. So I took a whole year of dynamics, all right? So, and I only got a B on it the second time. Anyway, so that wraps up your sophomore year of engineering school, right? So this was a difficult year. This was difficult. It wasn't the most difficult. The most difficult is, in my opinion, is year 3. So when I make that video, I'll explain that in more depth. But this is the last year of like students being purists and either, this is the year that you really find out, like, am I a math student? Do I want to do a math degree? Do I want to do an engineering degree? Do I want to do a different discipline of engineering? Like, did statics and dynamics break me off? And maybe I want to do like chemical, or I want to do biomedical or something like that, right? So like this year is the year that I would really say for students to really choose like what they want to do, because once you pass this year, you're not like, sold your soul completely to it, right? Because I mean, you can do anything you want to do, but at this point, past this one, you're gonna have to retake a lot of classes, which can be very financially burdening. It could also be very mentally burdening. This is the last year where most engineering disciplines would like overlap each other, so you have to retake very minimal classes, maybe like 1 or 2 tops, right? And then if you take these years and you don't do so well and you're like, man, I ain't about that engineering life, that's fine. Then go be a math major, go be a physics major, do something completely different, right? But this is the last year I would say like to be undecided, right? All right, guys, thanks for watching. If you'd like to see more videos, please like and subscribe. I'm going to be making a year 3 of engineering video here soon, and in that video we're really going to dive into mechanical engineering courses, and we're going to dive into how the math basis and the math foundation that you acquired in your first 2 years of engineering of college really like intersect the science portion and the applied science portion of all the math and the sciences that you learn. Some of these courses are going to be like computational methods and fluids. You're starting to get into like your basic machine design and your machine analysis courses. So stay tuned for those. Those will be really cool. That's when we start learning some really cool things and some really cool theories and like failure stuff, right? And also, shameless plug, on this channel I plan on doing like a lot of like engineering based videos, commentary about like current events about engineering and like technology, like upcoming technology reviews. I love talking about those kind of things. And I also am a very avid reader, so I will occasionally from time to time do book reviews on here of like really good books that I like that not all the time are science engineering based. They're just sometimes self-motivation, sometimes they're just like really good reads. So stay tuned for those too, right? All right, see you guys later.